close. At the age of 19 in 1962, she was a...
But I have the files. I read this stuff at the National Archives, and I read these other things. I said to myself, how can that be possible? The brain, the fondle slab of choice, internet, professional wrestlers, and not just Ventura style. It doesn't matter whether it's cartoon, as long as it's real. It doesn't. It's hard to get real information because seriously, they don't want you to just read two sources whenever I try to prove out. It's not. You expect your government to tell you the truth, you're going to sadly disappoint another one of these things.
Dear Lord, what a dirty, dirty old man, huh?
Really? Can't be serious. Is this really how you want things to be? Come on. More hooker, eruptions? Eruptions, whatever.
Like Dave Powers kind of...
Really?
Allegedly broadcast live from Pima Region 2. Within the borders of the formerly united and currently occupied states of America, we bring you the Ochelli Effect.
Because I damn sure know I'm an original.
We have all these situations. I'd love to know why it takes 50 years, for...
That's that.
For a 19-year-old girl to eventually get up to gumption to put these things out.
And that is that. December 30th, 2014, The Ochelli Effect. I'm your host, Chuck Ochelli. Good evening to all. And, yes, the formerly united and currently occupied states. That's correct. Anyhow. So tonight is Tuesday. What do I usually do on Tuesday? Well, of course, I have Roger Landry coming up in just a few. And then in the second hour, I'll bring on Dylan Wade, and we'll have some sort of discussion. Not sure what yet, but we'll see how it goes. I know what Roger wants to talk about, and I think it's going to be one of those remarkable nights where we do cover something that won't get me lots and lots of hate messages like many other things I seem to do. Anyway, had a little bit of fun with Vincent on Sunday, of course, on the Off-Grid Journey, which is normally Drew's show, but of course Vincent was sitting in, Vince Easley the second, as it were. Good guy, been around the network quite a while, all that kind of good stuff. Runs that wonderful, Media Networking Matters, and all that kind of good stuff there on Facebook. Good guy. But, like I say, Tuesday nights are for the Liberty Beacon. And, of course, the first guy I'm bringing on is Roger Landry. And, man, oh, man, what an eventful year it has been, Roger. How are you tonight, sir?
Busy, but then never too busy for you, Chuck.
Well, I appreciate that, I'll tell you. Because, some nights I have no idea what's going to happen on this show, but at the very least on Tuesdays, I know we're going to get to something very good, very worthwhile, very relevant to what's going on the planet around us. And it's always a pleasure to have you on, sir.
Well, as you can see, I'm steering off the path of political tyranny today. And even further off the path than GMOs or vaccines, which we've already discussed, we're going to discuss tonight a mechanism that has the ability to end all life on this planet quicker than any mechanism being utilized against humanity today.
Well, this is true, and I'm going to drop the link to the article in the chat room right now for everybody.
This article has been picked up by a lot of the geoengineering and chemtrail websites. I don't know why. Apparently I struck a chord, but it has literally gone viral. I like to see when something like that happens simply because it's such a vital message.
Well, that's the thing. Stuff like this goes viral organically when when it is time for the information to get out there, and simply by the weight of the information that gets out there, this is why people are picking it up. It's not a matter of good positioning or marketing. It's a matter of real vital information, and always enjoy this kind of stuff. Of course, I'm very sure that Dane's name is going to come up in here.
Actually, believe it or not, it's gotten more shares and hits on geoengineeringwatch.org than it has on the Liberty Beacon. And I wrote it and put it there. But he has a very large amount of traffic that focuses on exactly this type of thing as their main interest. Whereas the Liberty Beacon is we are the GP. We're the general practitioners. We talk about everything and anything that harms humanity, whereas Dane focuses on a specific realm of topics. And he sent me a message the other day saying it's gone viral.
Well, that's awesome. And, of course, Dane does a great show on this network, too, called Geoengineering Watch, which replays a couple of times, but I think is aired live on Saturdays before my show in the afternoons.
We're going to start re-airing that show as well.
Right, and that's going to be re-aired on the Liberty Beacon Radio Network as soon as all that stuff is in order at tlbtowncrier.com. It's in the works, and we shall soon see how that goes. I'm not sure if it'll be something that'll be simulcast exactly, or if it'll be a replay, but
I don't think it'll be a simulcast. And the good part about this is since they're going to be re-aired shows, we can delve back into the history of his archives a little bit and come up with some really, really good shows that maybe a lot of the listeners on the Liberty Beacon Project haven't had a chance to hear. So we can present that information to them as well.
Right, and of course there has been some interesting changes in what we see over our heads recently, and I'm sure we're going to get into that. So, without any further ado, and I really hope that, because I probably won't speak to you until after the new year, let me just say before I forget that I hope the new year starts off in a really great way for you. I am praying that my new year will go much better than 2014 did, and I know there's a lot of us out there that kind of had a rough 2014. I think we live in remarkable times, sir, and I think what we're going to talk about today is definitely part of that equation. So.
Oh, definitely. And what I see for 2015 is it is going to be a time for drastic global changes. We saw the lead up to a lot of this in 2014. We saw the dollar is near collapse. We saw the U.S. economy is struggling massively. We see over 50 million Americans on some type of subsistence. We see a lot of starving people in this country. We see more aggression spreading across the planet. We see all of these things were initiated in 2014 or brought to the forefront of a lot of people's attention in 2014. I honestly believe you're going to see the culmination of or the transposition of a lot of these mechanisms in 2015. 2015 will be a pivotal year for humanity.
Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly right. I'm very, very sure that we are heading into some very interesting pivotal times. I have a list of predictions that I'm working on, which I may actually cover on the first on this show, but we shall soon see what happens. You know, a lot of things look different even in a year's time, Roger.
Yes, they do.
Than they did at the beginning of 2014. You know, and post 2012 apocalyptic kind of silliness. You know.
Well, you had a presidential election, coming up. You had, and a lot of, and I hate using this term, but even compared to me and you, there are tinfoil hat wearers out there who take issues to the extreme, who state that the world was coming to an end in the year 2000. I remember Y2K. I'm a computer systems engineer. I was very busy in 1999. Believe me, I was. I saw the apocalyptic preachings of so many people. I saw it again in 2012. I saw it actually in 2008 after the collapse of or the near collapse of the U.S. economy. And so I'm not telling you, and I don't want anybody to take away from what I'm saying, that I believe that the world is going to collapse in 2015. What I do believe is there are going to be some massive pivotal shifts in how humanity sees and reacts to things over the next year. Whether they include martial law in the United States, whether they include World War III, whether they include... I'm not telling you the world's coming to an end. What I'm saying is I believe 2015 will be the culmination of everything we've seen over since the year 2001, since the 9/11 disaster. And so much was put into play as a result of 9/11, and it is all culminating at this point in history.
Right, the post 9/11 world is definitely going to actually turn. That's what we're looking at. Yes. I think that it's going to lead to some, probably the most drastic of changes will be in the following year, but we are going to see all of the stages set, as it were, in 2015. You know. There's no way around it, actually. I mean, like you said, the partial collapse of the U.S. economy in 2008, which, I got to say that was quite a bit of sleight of hand that kept it from absolutely collapsing then.
Well, that was a dry run. That was merely a dry run for what's about to happen. It was choreographed then. It's being choreographed now. And you always have a screenplay before you have a movie.
Well, right, and we've already seen the on-the-fly additions and subtractions to the script, as it were. I'm not too sure exactly where they're going today, but things definitely don't look the same as they did at the beginning of last year. So
no,
I don't know. Maybe it's just me, but
no, it's not just you, Chuck.
Just gives me a completely different outlook. But meanwhile, as we study what's happening over our heads, yes, as we study the realities of the atmosphere, the actual atmosphere, not the psychological and sociological atmosphere out there, but the actual atmosphere out there, this kind of brings us to the article we're going to focus on today. And, what else can I say? I mean, do you want to read the title, or would you like me to?
Well, you can give the title, and then I'm going to give a little preface prior to getting into the article.
Excellent. It is exactly this. Polar vortex restarted. Okay? Methane and imminent catastrophe. Now, again, this immediately draws me right to what Dane talks about, and this is why it's done so well on the geoengineering website, Geoengineering Watch, because it falls right in line with a lot of the stuff that he talks about all the time. So,
okay, first off, I need to explain to everybody out there, you've heard me discuss perpetual warfare. You've heard me discuss the possibilities of nuclear warfare. You've heard me discuss the evils of vaccines, GMOs, biotoxins, big pharmaceuticals. You've heard me discuss political tyranny and the fact that even Princeton states today we no longer live in a republic ruled by democratic process. We now live in an oligarchy. When Princeton says this, you better wake up and take notice, people, because this is one of the oldest and most credited universities in this country.
And let's just say you also discussed the misleading of the public via the mainstream media, as it were. You've also discussed the intelligence complex on top of the military-industrial complex.
I'm talking about the things that have immediate effect on our ability as a race to continue to exist.
Right.
Now, what I'm about to discuss has the most immediate and the most probable chance of ending all life on this planet the quickest and the most assured. What we're about to discuss is something that is actually physically happening as we speak. And if we don't put a stop to it, it's not that some of us might survive. It's not that some of us might survive to serve the elitist in the future. It's not that even the biosphere itself will survive. We're talking about an extinction level event. Now, I just told you about the tinfoil hat wearers that scream doom and gloom about everything, like they did in 2012, like they did in the year 2000, so on and so forth. What I am about to talk to you about is, in fact, an extinction level event that is underway as we speak. And if it is not addressed in the immediate future, it brings with it the promise of ending all life on this planet. So again, I'll go over the title that Chuck so eloquently put forth: Polar Vortex Restarted, Methane, and Imminent Catastrophe. I wrote this article simply because it scares the living hell out of me. I have children. I have grandchildren. Nothing can snuff out life on this planet more than what I'm about to say, with one exception. I will qualify this. Mm-hmm. If we were to have an all-out, full-blown nuclear exchange between Russia, China, India, Pakistan, Great Britain, the United States, if we were to have a full-out nuclear exchange, this is the only thing that could end life on this planet quicker than what I'm about to discuss with you. Okay? So we're talking about things that are occurring within the biosphere, not things that are generated by mankind using man-made mechanisms, although they both come into play here. So let's get into this article.
Right.
Let us discuss catastrophe beyond anything except, as I stated, full-scale, all-out nuclear exchange, but with as deadly and as final an outcome, and one that may have already been triggered to the ultimate detriment of all of humanity. There seems to be less and less normal or natural occurring weather as we progress these days. A close look at satellite photos recently shows a massive proliferation of atmospheric spraying and HAARP influence off the Pacific coast of the U.S., generating or initializing another polar vortex that will bring another extremely cold snap, and we are in it right now, to the heartland of America, as well as off the eastern coast of the United States, with the intent of producing the same results in the UK and Europe. The polar vortex will bring another period of severe cold to the central United States. This is being done as a psyop to convince the U.S. and Congress and the American people that an ice age is coming. This is another delay tactic like the IPCC to guarantee the Arctic methane venting goes far enough that it cannot be stopped. The actual truth is that the world is heating very rapidly and is passing the tipping point right now. So the weather controllers who are maintaining the polar vortex are guilty of genocide, ecocide, and violation of international treaties, which we'll get into. The problem is not only what is being perpetrated, but includes what it intends to mask, which I just covered, or cover up or hide from the masses. Extinction level events are unfolding on this planet as we speak, with little to no notice by a vast majority of the planet's population. Like cattle being herded ignorantly and blindly to the slaughter. Okay, I want to talk to you about generating a polar vortex, and I'm going to change the words a little here because you can't see the video, although I strongly recommend, there are 2 videos in this article. I strongly recommend you take the link Chuck has given you and you watch these videos, okay? So the information in the video, once you've seen that, what I want you to do is please take special notice of the result of intentionally pulling the super cold Arctic air south into central North America and Europe. in what is being described as a polar vortex. When you do this, warmer air floods in on the backside of this phenomenon to replace the frigid air drawn away from the polar region. If you suck, cold air down on the back end of that front, a vacuum is formed, pulling warmer air up to displace that colder air in the northern regions of the planet, the polar regions. So what this is facilitating is unnatural increased temperatures in the polar region. This just frustrates me so bad, because there is a serious need to look at what is developing in the Arctic and understand that the loss of ice due to these unnaturally warm temperatures, and if you take a look at the global maps right now depicting temperature, you will find a lot of places in Alaska, northern Canada, and some of the Arctic regions are warmer than what we're seeing in central Canada and central North America, including a lot of the United States, including northern Montana, where I live today. So what this is causing is the loss of ice, which provides reflectivity of sunlight, which keeps the temperature under the Arctic waters stable and cold. This has already set off one feedback loop whereupon expansions of water are absorbing solar radiation and driving water temperatures higher. This is not a guess. You can Google this and see it for yourself. The Arctic Ocean is warming. As these temperatures continue to climb, an inevitability has been set, culminating in a thawing and releasing of massive quantities of methane. While it's impossible to state a specific point when a runaway scenario would occur, it behooves us to wake up to the real danger right before our eyes, because there are already those stating the gun has been fired. Now, before I go on, let me qualify this with some information, because I'm aware of a lot of this information. People who delve into geoengineering and, global warming, which is a fact. And we can go into that on another show where I can prove to you that we are being lied to when we are being told that the globe is cooling, not warming. The Arctic is the absolute proof of this. Now, what we have below the oceans of the Arctic is not tons of, not thousands of tons of, not megatons or millions of tons of, but gigatons, billions upon billions of tons of trapped methane. It is trapped there because of the frigid temperatures of those waters. It is locked into ice crystals. And it is there, and it has been there for a very long time. So now let's continue, now that I've qualified that. There's a second video there that you have to watch. Because this video, if it doesn't scare the living crap out of you, you're already dead, and somebody forgot to read your epitaph. And this is a video done by Dr. Guy McPherson, who is one of the leading experts on this planet. He pulls no punches as he updates us on the latest news regarding the methane monster, evidently exploring in the Arctic and the northern regions. The Clathrate gun, which I told you some had said had already been fired, has been fired, he reports. And the methane clathrate melt levels seem to be increasing exponentially. What he's saying is, and there is an actual picture of this in the article, the methane bubbling up from the bottom of the Arctic oceans is at such a high rate that it is exponentially above what any scientist ever predicted it would be. and at unexpectedly high levels in the atmosphere, methane hydrate gas could exacerbate global temperature rise at such a highly accelerated rate as to create havoc on all life on this planet.
Roger, let me just hold you up for just a second, because here's the thing. I remember, okay, now this might date me some, but I remember when they were first talking about exactly these types of issues years ago, when the great evil that we were supposed to be worried about was tetrafluorocarbons, right? That methane, in fact, when it becomes unbalanced, it becomes, far too saturated in our atmosphere, would exactly create what they called the greenhouse effect, right?
I'm going to get into that, and I'm even going to tell you exactly how much it's going to affect.
Oh, okay. I'm just dialing it back a little bit just to make sure we understand what we're talking about here.
Because you're absolutely right. You're hitting the nail right on the head.
Okay, good deal. Because, the thing was, if I remember right, and you notice they don't talk about the tetrafluorocarbons any longer.
Because that's not what the big problem is at this point.
No, but see, it wasn't.
They were talking about man-made global warming.
Right.
They were talking about greenhouse gases being produced by the industrialization of the planet.
Exactly.
I'm going in a totally different direction. What I'm telling you is there is a mechanism trapped under the ocean in such vast quantities that it can end all life on this planet if it's released. There is not a scientist on this planet that won't agree with what I just said. Even those that are being paid to tell you that global warming doesn't exist will tell you that if the methane trapped under the oceans is released, it will end all life on this planet. What I'm telling you is an absolute fact. And what I'm telling you is it has the ability to do it 10,000 times quicker than if we continue to burn every fossil fuel left on this planet over the next century.
Well, see, that was going to be my point, is that when you knock the balance out, there is basically no one on either side of the issue regarding global warming that can tell you that this would be a good thing.
No, nobody.
Nobody can tell you that, because it's almost like telling you that, look, tomorrow when you wake up, the sun will be black.
That's a good thing.
Yeah, but it's a good thing. It's absolutely unimaginable that anybody can argue with this. And meanwhile, you're going to explain to us now how this is coming to be. But I wanted to sort of just break it down for a second and say that, look, there is a reality behind this, and there is also reason why they've sort of convoluted the issue regarding global warming, because...
But they were right. They were right when they said that man-made functionality was not causing the planet to heat up at such a point that it would cause a catastrophic runaway effect and kill everybody on the planet. When they said, that man-made global warming was basically a huge hoax, they were pretty much telling the truth.
Right.
What they weren't telling you was standing right behind that was a natural mechanism that could accomplish the same thing at a much more efficient and much more rapid level.
Exactly. Okay, thank you. That was the whole point I wanted to get to right there. I'm sorry.
Oh, don't apologize, because you made a good point. Everybody out there who thinks I'm telling you that man-made global warming is killing us all off like Al Gore did, I'm not.
No, we're not in the
apples and oranges here.
Exactly, and I wanted to make that distinction because I'm absolutely not on the Al Gore train here. Okay, and I know you're not either, but I wanted to make that distinction because I didn't want anybody to get confused, thinking that what we're talking about here is something that's going to contribute to this other thing. I mean, even really quickly, when I was in school, I did a study to find that, remember when they were talking about the giant hole in the ozone, and that this was one of the big problems? See, I found out that they observed the very same thing 20 years before any of these chemicals that they claim were causing the hole in the ozone layer actually existed. Okay.
Open and close in the ozone layer as a result of other mechanisms out of mankind's control.
That's exactly what I discovered, is that there were changes in magnetic fields that caused this to occur. There were all sorts of totally non-man-made related things that would cause this to happen.
The ozone layer is being destroyed by geoengineering today, but again, that's another topic, okay? I really want to get through this because we're about to jump into an explanation of just how evil this can be.
Oh, yeah, but I wanted to set it up. Yep. That this is not simply a matter of, mankind's race to burn up fossil fuels, mankind's race to make plastics, mankind's race. We cannot possibly do the damage that is being unleashed via what you're about to describe. Absolutely. That is all I wanted to make very clear here. Okay.
I need everybody to take a look at the video called Arctic Methane Monster, Insane Level of Disaster, by Dr. Guy McPherson in this article. I need you to watch that.
That's the second one down here, right?
Right.
Okay.
Well, both of them are important, but that one is the most important. Once you watch that, it will send a chill up your spine beyond anything I've ever discussed with you. So let's continue, okay? A great source, actually, and a contributor to the Liberty Beacon Project, Dane Wigington of Geoengineering Watch, states CH4, which is basically methane, is 20 times more potent as a greenhouse gas than CO2 is over a 100-year time horizon.
Right.
We don't have that much time. Over a 10-year time horizon, methane is 100 to 120 times more potent than CO2. And over a 30 to 60-day horizon, it can be as much as 1,000 times more potent than CO2. We are truly in free fall. The massive volume of methane trapped at the bottom of frigid oceans in the form of frozen methane hydrates, okay, does have the ability to end all life on this planet if released in enough volume in over a limited period of time. There isn't a scientist on this planet, a climate scientist, that will not tell you that is a fact. When the water temperatures directly above the seabed rises, methane hydrates dissolve and release the previously bound methane. This scenario portends that enormous amounts of this very powerful greenhouse gas will be released into the atmosphere, resulting in utter, catastrophic, and fatal damage to the biosphere and humanity. Now, with what we've discussed, what becomes obviously or alarmingly obvious is the unusual and unnaturally warm temperatures that result in or from the intentional manipulation via these polar vortexes. This is how I open this discussion, okay? Mm-hmm. In the very areas of the planet where this methane is trapped. The release of this killer gas has already begun with atmospheric levels magnitudes up to 5,000 times above what used to be considered the norm. You pull the cold air down to create polar vortexes via geoengineering. Along the backside of that front, warm air rushes in. Alaska and parts of the Arctic are warmer today than parts of the United States are. This is not normal. And some scientists project that if this continues to escape at the level, this methane, and at the increasing rate, because it's not escaping at a linear level, it's escaping at an exponentially increasing rate, okay? If it continues to escape at the increasing rate, that's already taking place. Continued life on this planet, listen to what I'm about to say, could all but be impossible as soon as the next 20 to 40 years. With some scientists, and you will hear what I'm about to say in the video from one of the most knowledgeable PhD level scientists on this planet, with some stating that it could actually initiate at any time within the next few years. Can you say extinction level event? Yeah, I just said that. And right below this comment I just made is a picture that was taken by scientists of the surface of the Arctic Ocean it looks like you've shaken up a bottle of soda pop. What do you see on the top of that bottle? Once you stop shaking, all of the bubbles rising to the top, and the top is just a froth. This is what portions of the Arctic Ocean look like today from massive amounts of escaping methane. If you wish to leave a viable planet for your children or your grandchildren, if, as some are already saying, it is not already too late, please do some personal research. This is the most important thing you will ever research, because the genocide of humanity or the re-terraforming of the planet Earth has already begun. And this, my skeptical friends, is not a guess. I am not here to tell you that mankind is causing global warming via industry and destroying the planet. Do I think it's good for the planet? No, I don't. Do I think we are causing this extinction level event? Not via industry, but via our manipulations, via HAARP and geoengineering or weather modification, via producing things like polar vortexes that are being brought down into Europe, brought down into Great Britain, brought down into central United States. When you pull the cold air away, you produce a vacuum which facilitates the drawing of warmer air at some other point on the globe to rush in and take the place of that colder air. That air, by necessity, has to be warmer than the air you pulled away from the Arctic regions. As we increase the ambient temperatures of the Arctic region, we facilitate the increased release of methane into the atmosphere. This is not a guess. I dare you to prove me wrong. And I do that with all the exuberance I can possibly put forward. None of this is a guess, I'm telling you. This is all fact. If we continue to play God and manipulate the weather on this planet in the fashion we're doing, we are hastening to an extinction level event that some scientists are saying all life on this planet could begin to extinguish within the next generation. And some are saying it may not even take that long. Nothing I have ever told you, nothing I will ever tell you, carries the importance of this message. Okay, Chuck, do you think I've put enough emphasis on that?
I think you have. But, here's the thing. Even today, we're still arguing with people that want to say that, first of all, the chemtrails are not really chemtrails, geoengineering is not happening, this is still going on, and I can't seem to figure out a better way than to tell them, look, first of all, look over your own heads. Okay, but second of all, do you think that all of these photographs and all of this stuff that's happening is happening by accident? Do you remember at a point when you were a kid, and I say this to people in my own age group all the time, do you remember when you were a kid seeing these unified cloud banks being formed? Do you see this stuff? Do you recall it? Do you ever remember recalling it? Because there was a day when we didn't have so many electronic gadgets to keep us looking down. We actually did used to look up at the sky because it was one of the most interesting things we could do when we were bored. Okay, was, take a look at cloud formations and imagine them to be all sorts of different things. Nowadays, you look up at them and you want to play tic-tac-toe. I mean, it's absolutely insane that you can't even seem to convince people that this is happening, first of all. But secondly, the strange weather events, okay, are not something that you can assign to just the industry. They're not something you can assign to just the fact that we're, burning plastics in our landfills or whatever else. It doesn't work this way. This stuff is happening, and it's happening on purpose. It's being done with an agenda. No matter how much it's being denied, no matter how much you don't want to look at the patents, no matter how much you don't want to see how these programs have been made public knowledge at this point, it's there. And what is it doing? Well, this is one of the very serious aspects of it.
It is the most serious. This is the most imminent catastrophe sitting right in front of our faces in all of human history, with the exception of the Great Flood and Noah.
Yeah.
Now, you put forth a couple of great points, and what I tell people, okay? Because even very intelligent people fight back against chemtrails or geoengineering. They do. And I ask them a very simple question for which they never, ever have a reasonable answer. And it puts that seed of doubt into their head.
Okay.
If you live 500 miles off of the closest flight path, or 500 to 800 miles like I do away from any large airport, and you look up over your head and you see 30 lines going one direction and 30 lines crisscrossing them going the other direction, forming that checkerboard you were talking about, Chuck. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And you see that over a 5 to 6 hour period, those lines might have spread out, but the pattern is still visible. Explain that to me. Are you trying to tell me that a dozen or a half a dozen jumbo jets had nothing better to do than to come over your house in the middle of the country, 500 miles off of any flight path, and form a checkerboard in your sky? And a checkerboard that will last for 25%, 50% of a day? Contrails cannot last longer than 30 minutes, and in most cases they don't last even hardly at all visible beyond 15 lengths of a jet, because what they are is water vapor that's been heated up via the exhaust of a jet. So if you've got a trail that is still visible 4, 5, 6 hours after it's been laid, and you've got a checkerboard sitting above you 500 miles from the closest heavily traveled flight path, explain how that ever came into existence and explain its longevity. Nobody who pushes back against chemtrails or geoengineering can ever give you an answer. Their first reaction is to shift. I was on a show the other day as a guest. Now, you're going to find this funny. I was on a show with Barry Prince.
Oh, Barry Prince, okay.
The other day, and he had a geoengineering, a chemtrail expert on, who tried to state, and he asked me to come on as well. So I'm on listening to this guy, and he's telling the world on this radio show that chemtrails are actually just different types of fuel that are being tested by the aviation industry, because the cost of fuel will put them out of business within the next 5 to 10 years if they don't come up with solutions. He's telling the audience that these, what appear to be chemtrails, are basically fuels they're trying out, which include using chicken fat to propel jets. Do you know how many chickens would have to die to even run one jet cross country? But chicken fat being added to the jet fuel to make it cheaper, and that's why these trails last so long. And why? Because they have chicken fat in them. So I asked him, he's got a website and everything, but he is such a troll and so pro geoengineering as far as the government's viewpoint that it's insane. So I asked him that question. I said, can you explain to me why I live over 500 miles from any large airport and at least 500 miles off the beaten path from any well-traveled air route.
Mm-hmm.
And yet I can look up and see 30 lines going in one direction and 30 lines going in the other direction that will subsist for a minimum of 6 hours, some exceeding 12 hours in the sky. And he said, well, I don't actually believe that happens. So I told him, I gave him a link to a place where he could go online, which is Bing Image Search, and I said, put in the word chemtrails and hit enter. What you will come up with is 10 to 20,000 photographs showing you exactly what I just described. And he said, have you ever heard of Photoshop? At that point, I left Barry's show. I left the show.
You know what? I totally understand, because I one time just came up with this idea because I had chicken fat. Chicken fat I've never heard before. Chicken fat's a new one on me.
That's what he's telling people. They're putting chicken fat in there to make burning their jet engines cheaper. Are you freaking kidding me?
Well, you know, I'm absolutely flabbergasted at that one. I don't know where chicken fat comes from.
I never exaggerate. If I'm telling you this, I was told this.
No, I absolutely believe it, Rod. That's really bizarre. I mean, but I'll tell you what. I'll counter it with this one, because I've had somebody on somebody else's radio show do something like this to me and tell me that these were perfectly natural things, that they were contrails and all that. And I said, okay. Well, let me ask you a question. When you take a shower or you cook your food, sometimes you make steam, right? Does the condensation from that, or when you open your freezer, or any of these things that cause those sorts of cloudy effects in your home, does any of that stuff like hang around? Do you have like the cloud from Thanksgiving dinner when the New Year comes because it's still sitting there? I mean, does that stuff just remain there? The guy just said, well, no, but you see, it's not coming out of a jet engine, so that's why. I said, okay.
I can show you, literally, I can show you when a jet flies over. I can look up, and I can show you the dissipation of that trail. It's like, okay, that's a normal passenger jet. Take a look, okay?
Well, yeah, and even...
But wait, I have to finish this.
Oh,
okay?
Go ahead.
I want to take this one step further.
All right.
I would like anybody listening to this show, anybody, to take a look via Google Earth over the Cleveland airport, over the JFK airport, over the Washington, D.C. airport, over the Miami airport, and show me those trails, because there are literally an uncounted amount of jets coming in, going out, circling in, and holding patterns, waiting to land. Do you see these patterns in the skies above these airports? No! Doesn't that just blow every one of these chemtrail freaking trolls right out of the water, Chuck? Doesn't it blow them all out of the water instantly?
Yeah, exactly. And it's just one of those things where, but I'm stuck, because I say to myself, you know, how do you get somebody to deny that water is wet? How do you know, how is that possible? How do you get somebody to say that when one freezes water into ice, you know, it's no longer water? You know, how do you get somebody, I mean, how do you even combat that? You know what I mean?
How do you explain to people who can look at a temperature map, a satellite temperature map of the polar regions, northern Alaska, northern Canada, these areas, and realize how warm they are, and realize that in the Arctic oceans alone, not the Antarctic oceans, which also have, not the Barrett Seas, which also have, not the, I'm talking, or the frozen tundra that also traps a lot of methane. Just the Arctic oceans alone, which are being warmed, and you can see this on Google Earth with their temperature map. Wait. Just the Arctic oceans alone contain enough methane that if we only release 25% of it, all life on this planet ceases. And it's already melting and seeping up. It's happening right now.
Right. Exactly.
The gun has been fired.
But you know what?
A very, very, very intelligent PhD level researcher.
Well, precisely. But here's the other strange thing, and you're going to love this one. Okay, because I get this all the time too. Is they turn around and they say, okay, let's just assume that you're right about some of this. Okay, because let's just assume it. Okay, let's assume it. Thank you. But let's assume for a moment that you're right about some of this. Not even all of it, just some of it. Why would human beings who have to live on this planet be on board with something like this, Roger?
There's the $50 million question, isn't it? There's the $50 million question. First off, nothing that I would use to answer that question changes the fact that it is occurring as we speak.
Well,
Nothing's going to change that, okay? I could come up with half a dozen tinfoil hat explanations for that. One of them right off the top of my head. Let me read the very last line of my article that I wrote again. The genocide of humanity or the re-terraforming of Earth may have already begun. Did you hear what I just said?
Oh, yeah.
The re-terraforming of Earth has already begun. So let's dig into our tinfoil hat aspect here and say, what if we are in fact being dominated and controlled by an extraterrestrial race? And of course, I'm not believing this. I'm just, I'm throwing some answers at you. That breathes methane, and they want the real estate. That's one thing. Another thing is, underground cities, one of the biggest things that they have to do is they have to ensure the viability of the air they breathe, especially in an all-out nuclear war. They have to be pretty much airtight. They have to produce their own air and their own oxygen, which they are capable of doing, and I can prove that, okay, to keep the radioactive air out, to keep the air out that's contaminated, so on and so forth. So if you produce this this wave or this massive release of methane, it kills everybody off, and eventually, because methane has a short half-life. The half-life of CO2 in the atmosphere is about 100 years. The half-life of methane in the atmosphere is about a decade or less. But in a 60-day period, if enough methane is released, it can snuff all life on the Earth out because us and the plants can't breathe methane. It would kill us all. But methane breaks down in the atmosphere very quickly. Over the period of less than a decade, a massive majority of that methane would be gone. But at the volume it's being released, once it reaches a critical mass in the atmosphere, you won't breathe.
Well, right.
And then 10 years later, they come out of their little cubby holes. How many underground cities are there? Do a little research, my friends. They're ready for millions of the elite and their families to crawl underground, and they've been stocking them for years. As a matter of fact, the increased stocking of DUMBs, that's what they're called, deep underground military bases, have been, the increased stocking has happened over the last 2 years beyond anything that has happened in the last decade. 10 years after this massive release, they climb out of their little holes, and there's a pristine planet waiting for them. Do you think I'm kidding? What part that I just told you can't I prove? I dare you to prove anything except the fanciful, and of course it wasn't true. I was just making a joke about the aliens re-terraforming the planet.
Right, I understand.
But check on the half-life of methane in the atmosphere.
So it's strategic. It's more like a good strategy to kind of scrub off the rest of us who don't have access to the dumbs, and therefore, they can get their planet back without the inconvenience of all the rest of us. Basically,
it is a mechanism for wiping the earth clean and starting with a new slate by those who feel it is their right to inherit the earth, and we are just eaters or cattle.
All right, and you know what? It may not even be that well thought out, because sometimes, let's be honest, sometimes, as sociopaths are not that well thought out either.
No, and I would believe that a lot of the pilots and the people who work within the industry that propagates this mechanism are totally unaware of what's actually going on. They don't know that they're killing off their children or their grandchildren, or they're making the earth unlivable. I'm quite sure that, and you've got to understand, this is a global project going on, geoengineering. Okay? Massive global project. You need to understand, just like the government perpetrating tyranny on us, there's a lot of people working for the U.S. government. It's so compartmentalized, they're not aware of the evil they're perpetrating. All they see is the little piece of the project they're working on. That tiny little piece, they live within that microcosm. So, yeah, I would say that, is it possible that this is being perpetrated intentionally? If there are scientists out there, which I have shown you, and I've given you a video of one of the best of them, telling the world we're on the edge of a cataclysmic extinction level event that could start within years, not decades, okay? If these scientists can see this, do you think that the government's scientists or the elite scientists can't see this? And if they can, then the reason or the motivation must be to get rid of the eaters and the cattle and bring only enough people underground so that when they come back out of their holes, they've got enough servants and slaves to take care of them.
Well, right. And, because that is one of the other arguments a lot of people do use about this, which is, look, do you think that they could convince these pilots to participate in it and all these other people that would have to be involved to participate in this? And I say all the time that these type of things go on without people knowing exactly what it is they're doing, because it's exactly compartmentalized.
I worked for the DOD for decades. I can tell you how compartmentalized it is, the Department of Defense. How departmentalized the government truly is. We had a discussion a few weeks back, Chuck, about the Arctic seed vault and how it was the most protected structure ever built above ground in the history of humanity. It's built right into the side of a mountain. It is nuclear blast proof. It is attack proof. It is invasion proof. You cannot get into it. It is, okay, now let me ask you a question. You wipe the world clean, the methane dissipates, obviously you killed off all the plant life as well as all of humanity that was above ground. Now, let's go back to all of the shit that's been put into this Arctic seed vault and ask again, why was so much care taken, were so many fallbacks and safeties put into building this vault? Why is it so rigid and attack-proof and nuclear bomb-proof? Why is it? Because when they come out of their hole, they need to have seeds from every useful plant that ever grew or existed on this planet to regerminate the whole planet. Does the seed vault make a little bit more sense now?
Well, see, that's the thing, is that it's a perfect thing for the reset, because this way you can once again put the stuff back on the planet that would be choked off by this great methane release. So, kind of makes a whole lot more sense now, doesn't it? Oh, and listen, I have joined Dylan Wade into the conversation.
It looks like Hi, Roger. It looks like I joined in at the end of your rant.
Oh, I usually peel away about this time, and naturally I have to. But Chuck always lets me stick around long enough to say hello to the next guest. And it's always great to talk with you. Always. Dylan, how have you been, my friend?
I've been good, Roger. You?
Well, busy as one-legged man in a butt-kicking contest, but still managed to stand up.
As always, and look, everybody out there, if you didn't catch the whole article or the link in chat or whatever, once again, the title of the article is, let me make sure I get it right, Polar Vortex Restarted, Methane and Imminent Catastrophe, okay? And you can find that at thelibertybeacon, all one word.com, thelibertybeacon. And, of course, it's also been posted at the Geoengineering Watch website as well. But you can find tons of good stuff at thelibertybeacon.com. And, of course, The Falling Darkness is another one of those wonderful websites, which is a partner with the Liberty Beacon. Check them out as well.
No, they're not a partner with us. They're part of the project.
Oh, part of the project. See, yeah, I always misstate these things.
Well, geoengineeringwatch.org is a partner. The sites that were built by the Liberty Beacon Project are actual parts of the project. So, actually, that was the very second website we built was The Falling Darkness. Right after, about 6 months after we set up the flagship, which was the Liberty Beacon.
Well, there you go. See, Roger corrects me again.
Chuck, it is always a pleasure to be on your show. You give me a chance to just open up and say the things that I really feel have to be said. I have never had a negative experience with you, my friend, and there's not a lot of people on this planet I can say that about.
Well, again, I do appreciate it, and of course, we'll have much more to announce in coming weeks, and a whole lot more is going to be going on with the Liberty Beacon in 2015.
Oh yes.
So,
what I will give you a veiled comment. As I told you, 2015 would be a pivot point for the globe in a lot of the situations we've seen building over the last several years. 2015 will be a major pivot point for the Liberty Beacon Project. We are going to the next level, which will put us in a realm, I don't know, I would say that within the next year we might have the ability to compete even with some of the mainstream media.
Well, I'm definitely looking forward to all this, and we will keep you up to date on it on the Tuesday night shows here, and you'll also be able to hear it for yourselves on various things that are going to be developing from the Liberty Beacon as well. So, Roger, I know you're a busy man, so I'm going to let you go. And again, thank you, sir. I cannot thank you enough. I really appreciate all of the time, all of the work you put in, and the fact that you stop with us once a week to discuss each of these issues. Not a single one lacking in importance regarding the global situation as it exists, and we are definitely doing the best to keep your Paul Revere representation riding, sir. Sounding the alarm, as it were, as we say at the Town Crier website, and really, I can't thank you enough.
Well, I want to thank you, and Dylan, I wish you a very, very happy New Year, my friend.
Same to you, Roger.
Bye, guys.
Take care. So, Dylan.
So,
how have you been?
Pretty good.
Pretty good. How were the holidays, sir?
They were good. How about yours?
Don't ask. Anyway.
Okay.
You know how it goes, man.
Yep.
One thing after another after another. Hey, I haven't gotten a chance to ask you this off air recently, but I'll ask you on air. What's going on with our debate partner there?
I have no idea.
Okay, enough said.
Sorry. Best answer I got for you.
Well, what have you been keeping track of, sir? I mean, have you taken a look at the recently fallen airplane that we can actually find out there in the oceans? I mean, what do you got your mind on?
I've looked at it. It seems like just another distraction, so I haven't focused on it, but...
See, you're getting better at this game. So what have you been focusing on? I know you got a couple of other shows cooking. What's going on with all that?
I've got the new network cooking up. We're starting on the new year.
Gonna launch January 1st?
Yeah, our rotation should be starting January 1st.
And who do you got lined up over there so far?
I just pulled over Kevin Blanche. He's going to be hosting a show. We've got a couple other hosts, but they really... this will be their first show.
Kevin Blanche, I'm surprised because he does his thing over here on UCY, and
it'll actually be right after that. It'll be 2 hours after his show on this one on Tuesday.
Oh, nice. Okay. Well, everybody loves Kevin, and of course, amazing stuff he does, especially regarding nuclear activism and all that. Which, you know what, you and I have never really discussed that topic. I mean, how do you see things going that way?
In terms of...
Well, in terms of, there are people that very much tell me that Fukushima is probably one of the greatest global threats that's being ignored by everybody. Of course, we discussed, I don't know if you heard the show earlier.
I did not.
We were discussing, weather manipulation and geoengineering and exactly the damage which is being done via the manipulation of the vortex, as it were, all of this kind of stuff. I mean, you got somebody for chemtrails over there?
Well, the founder of the network is, the founder of the website is a chemtrail activist.
Ah, well, who is actually doing that?
Jim Lee.
Jim Lee, okay. That's right. He was a guest on one of your shows at one point, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was a guest on the show where that happened at the same time you had Sylvain.
Oh, that's right. We both did a chemtrail show on the very same night, and
at the very same time.
Yeah, it's Sylvan Henry, who was doing his. He just got done doing another one of those 24-hour radio broadcasts as well, didn't he?
He did, yeah. I was listening in last night.
Yeah, Vince Easley from over here was supposed to jump in on that at some point. I don't know if he did. Did you happen to hear Vince?
I listened in afterwards. I didn't get through it all.
Well, what are you planning on doing? I'm sure you're going to appear on that new network. And does the new network have a name yet?
Climate Viewer TV.
Say again?
Climate Viewer TV. Climate video and audio.
Nice. Climate Viewer TV. Mm-hmm. Okay. So it'll have a .com and all that?
It already does.
Oh, okay. Cool. Is there stuff to look at over there? I mean, can we say go there and look at it, or?
There are articles posted. The website's been up for 3 years. It's just now expanding into a radio network.
Oh, cool. So, but it'll be like in a sometime video and sometime audio radio network, or what?
Some of us will be doing video and audio. I'll be doing audio only. But if they choose to, it's through Google Hangouts, so they can use video as well.
Oh, okay. That's cool. So, what else have you been up to? I mean, you got any other big plans for the new year besides the launching of the network, or what?
No, I actually don't have any other plans in mind. I think that's big enough for me to handle this year.
Well, that's true. That's true. Hey, the last time you were on, we were talking about the strange conversations in your peer group. Any more of those going on?
No. We've been on a break for a while.
Well, that's true. You had the break from school and all, but I mean, just before you went to vacation, I mean, was there any sort of big events as far as your fellow younger people there were concerned? Because Dylan's only 16, so still attending high school and all that kind of stuff. I mean, were there any? Let's see. The last big one, which left me kind of speechless, was Barack Obama doesn't care about black people. That was pretty funny.
That was entertaining.
And in fact, is actually an active participant and a desirous individual when it comes to the genocide of blacks. According to your classmates, this is. Right? Or am I getting something wrong here?
No, that's exactly right, sadly.
Okay, and of course that was all being sparked because of the blowback from all the police brutality situations and the racial end which was being played up there. But of course, you know, it has to decline into that kind of weirdness.
Yeah, it has to go to another polar extreme.
Well, of course. And was there any sort of discussion regarding the protests and what came of that? Or, I mean,
No.
Did you guys even begin to cover the the dead cops and the whole event there, where you have NYPD people turning their back on the mayor of New York and all that?
No, I'm pretty sure all that happened after we left.
Oh, is that? You know what? My timing might be screwed up here. Yeah, I guess it did happen. What do you think? I mean, there was nothing on anybody's mind except what their parents were going to get them for Christmas, I guess, when you guys were about ready to leave, right?
Yeah, that was pretty much it. I was just happy that I get to sleep a little bit.
Well, aren't we all when we get some extra sleep, right?
Yeah.
So, what's on your mind today, Dylan? Anything in particular grabbing you, or what?
No, I'm really not interesting today.
You're just not interesting today. Hey, now that assumes that you're interesting on other days. Why would today be any different? It's
well
okay,
played.
man.
Well played.
Listen, there's plenty of days where I'm not very interesting either, but for some reason I still open up the mic and talk anyway. Which, of course, just for anybody's clarification, if you want to join in the conversation, the lines are open. So,
Has anything really happened, though?
Has anything really happened? Well, does anything ever really happen? If you would have caught the nasty stuff that came back at me because I did a show basically saying that Sandy Hook might have happened. Man, oh man,
I wish I got to tune into that.
Yeah, well, I had a guy on who is no relation to you, C.W. Wade, on Saturday, and people were not happy about that. So, because he essentially was saying that, the incident did occur. And although the mainstream media got it wrong, that this isn't a completely false flag, fictitious thing, and it wasn't staged. And,
just to get a little anger directed at me, I'm pretty much of that same opinion as well.
Oh, okay. Well, at least there's two of us. Thanks. Man, oh man. Between that and, of course, the haranguing that I take over the dancing Israelis, as it were, which haven't come up during this show yet in the chat room or anything, but I'm sure it's up and coming. So, what can you do? And the funny thing is that nobody on the network or nobody afterwards gave me the nasty messages regarding the show on the Catholic Church I did on Christmas Day, because I was live on Christmas. But they did kind of come at me a little bit on Facebook. I don't know if you saw any of that, but I started having to quickly cut off a whole bunch of people that were on my friend list for it.
No, I didn't see that. That was probably a bit entertaining, though.
Yeah, well, they're angry because I'm anti-Christian all of a sudden. I've never stated that I was anti-Christian. Nobody's ever actually asked me.
No, but nobody said you were pro either.
No, but that's true. But I mean, I don't know. You have any particular feelings about the Catholic Church and the history of it, or you want to just stay away from that one with the proverbial 10-foot pole, or what?
I'd like to get into it another day, but I don't really know enough about it at this point.
Well,
it's not something I've gone into.
That's cool. It's cool. And despite the fact that I had stated about the Sandy Hook thing that I really hadn't done a lot of research for myself, the only thing that I stated on that show is that a lot of the people that claimed that it was completely fictitious and weren't real were misrepresenting their own evidence. Because they are. If you take a look at some of this stuff, they tell you, look at the repeated actions of a group of people or something that's going on, and meanwhile, it's looped video. When they tell you explicitly that it's not looped video, it's looped video. They show you photographs of stuff that happened, after the event and tell you that it was during the event. They misrepresent timelines, and of course I'm the bad guy for saying any of this. So, what are you going to do?
Oh, some people aren't ready.
Well, not only aren't some people ready, but, God help me if I don't say that everything is a great conspiracy that's been put on, just for the entertainment of the masses. A lot of things have been done that way. Of course, there were also the other nasty digs on top of it about, you and your JFK crap, you're, locked in the past anyway, so you have no idea what's going on in the current world and all that kind of stuff. So
those are the more entertaining ones, because at least they acknowledge it.
Oh, yeah, of course. But look, if you claim that every single thing that happens in the world is fictitious, where are you going to go?
Well, not only that, you're just as bad as the people who claim everything is how it is.
Yeah, well, what can I say?
Sorry for shattering anybody's world.
Look, it hurts when it happens. So what do I have coming up? I still do want you on board for the mythology show, because
I'm still on board.
Good deal, because I'm getting that together, and we are going to discuss the mythology out there on the greater internets, as it were.
Can we do a simulcast?
I'm all willing to do that. If we can figure out a way to facilitate that without making a disaster that day, I would be more than happy to do so. I'm getting a couple of researchers out there that are maintaining archives about certain things to participate, so it won't just be me complaining about the fairy tale world, as it were.
Oh, that's fun too.
Yeah, but hopefully Andrea Skolnick will join me, as well as David Rees-Jones.
While I am not a researcher, I will still complain.
Well, yeah, and definitely. And who we should definitely get for that show is your friend Ken. Because although he doesn't seem to bring a lot to the table sometimes, what he does is he asks a lot of really great questions. And I appreciate the challenge, because he makes me have to explain things. So,
which some people in your audience may find as a downside, but I'll talk to him.
Yeah, well, that's okay. And we haven't really, I don't think we've had Ken on my show yet. So
no, he was just on my show with you.
Right. So, but really a cool guy. I mean, I like him.
Yeah, he's fun.
Definitely.
I'll pull him in. I'll talk to him.
Yeah, please do. And look, I really do want to get to the part 2 on that debate with you.
I want to do it too. I have my notes. I have everything ready.
See, but by this time, the police state is going to have passed away in people's minds, because
oh no, they're keeping it alive.
You think so? Well, what have you seen recently?
The Antonio Martin shooting.
Okay.
That'll keep it alive for at least another day or two.
Well, yeah, and I figure the residuals from the whole thing about the 2 NYPD cops getting killed.
That'll keep it alive for a while.
I'm figuring, because and here's the thing, I don't personally endorse violence against anybody for whatever reason, but when self-defense is self-defense, I mean, sometimes things change.
Well, the way I understand the story, those 2 cops were ambushed, from what I understand. Like I said, I haven't done a lot of research into it.
Well, right, but here's the thing. When an atmosphere builds up where your adversaries are the police, right, these kinds of things are going to happen. And I mean, this kind of stuff happens in a lot of neighborhoods all over the place. I would say about 9 blocks or so from the spot where I'm sitting. There was an interesting shooting. Didn't make the national, press. Didn't make statewide press. Hell, I don't even think the local TV carried it. And this is at least the 6th or 7th time this year that I've noted that happening.
Right. Why did they pick this one?
Well, right, and a lot of these things are contentious and definitely have their, different possibilities regarding what the truth is and what the reality that actually came down during the situation is. And yet it didn't actually, grow legs and grab the news media.
I got nothing for you there.
Yeah, well, what can you do?
Sorry.
Not a problem. Not a problem. So, look, what about the other past conspiracy stuff you were working on? You had some other people talking to you about the Bush crime family, as it were?
Yeah, he was on my show. How long was it now? I think it's close to 6 months ago now.
Well, what's happening there? Because, what was that guy's name again? Stu Webb?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, what's happening there? I mean,
he blocked me.
Well.
Yeah, we scheduled a show, he didn't show up, he removed me on Skype.
No kidding.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. I know something happened with, I think I told you that story already.
Yeah, maybe, but, I just thought it was worth going back over.
No, I know.
Hey,
I wish something happened.
In the coming weeks, in sort of the classic tome of bizarre things that have happened in the world, I'm going to have a survivor from Jonestown on. You ever look into Jonestown?
No, I never have actually.
Okay, well, you know basically what happened, right?
A little bit.
Well, this is where the whole concept of don't drink the Kool-Aid comes from. Because the allegation for the very longest time was that Jones, who was running a religious cult in Guyana, a place that they called Jonestown, had commanded his followers at one point after the assassination of a congressman to drink the cyanide-laced Kool-Aid, as it were. And this is where, you've heard of the term drink the Kool-Aid, or, I'm drinking the Kool-Aid, or somebody's drinking the Kool-Aid.
Yeah, I've heard that before.
Meant to evoke the idea of mindless following, which, Jones had. Jones had a tremendous cult that he was running. Now, there are many allegations out there, regarding whether this was a CIA-controlled kind of situation, whether he was a CIA asset. There was an individual down there, and in fact, the first news that we got of the Jonestown massacre, or the Jonestown mass suicide, as it were, came from a weird radio base out there in Guyana. And it's definitely an event that I think is worth studying from the aspects of what mind control really looks like, especially when utilizing, religious imagery and memes in order to accomplish that. Of course, this happened in the late 70s, so it's long before your time. But I guarantee you there's plenty of information out there regarding, Jonestown and the connections to the MK Ultra possibilities and things like that. So, I don't know, you never really looked at that one?
No, it's actually never something I heard about until you told me about it.
Oh, okay. Well, hey, there you go. So I've given you a new rabbit hole to go down, sir. If you wish. You're welcome. Also going to have Dean Hartwell on in the next coming weeks. I think he's coming on the 3rd. And we're going to discuss his new book, which is called Questions I Wasn't Supposed to Ask. And, of course, that'll allow us to delve into 9/11 and JFK and a few other subjects, because, of course, all of those subjects are loaded with questions that we weren't supposed to ask, you know what I mean? And Jim DiEugenio has actually agreed to be on the show as well. That's the guy who runs Citizens for the Truth in the Kennedy assassination, but has also taken the time to chronicle a great many things about the RFK assassination, the MLK assassination, and even the murder of Malcolm X. So, but of course, during all that, I'm also going to squeeze in a little show about Charles Manson and what really went on there. So, sort of a cross-examination of the guy who became one of the famous prosecutors from that case, in a way, but I doubt that Vince Bugliosi will ever agree to appear anywhere with me.
Would you really want him to?
Well, yeah, actually, I would love to have Vince on if I could, somehow stick his Skype open and make him answer my questions. It would be great. But, who knows? So anyway, that's the stuff I'm working on. Of course, there's a lot of other people that are going to come up on the show as well. Hoping to get H.P. Albarelli on shortly. Look him up if you don't know who he is. Awesome author of a great many interesting books, novels, and things like that. Hey, did you ever get to see that movie I mentioned to you?
Which one? I've seen a lot recently.
Well, I wanted you to go see Kill the Messenger.
I don't remember if I did.
Gary Webb's story.
Sounds familiar. So I probably did.
A CIA importation of cocaine and the newsman who went after it, no?
Yeah, I've seen that.
Something weird came across to me the other day. I was plopped in front of a TV and was watching part of the History Channel, and that's always fun.
By choice?
Yeah, well, it was the best option I had in front of me at the time. Holidays, lovely. Anyway, back to it. The thing is, I was kind of struck by these doomsday prophets that they were running on the History Channel. They'd run a whole thing about Nostradamus, and then they ran a thing about modern doomsday prophets, which included Mike Rupert, who committed suicide earlier this year, talking about the imminent collapse of the financial situation and a lot of the stuff that we cover on our shows. And, of course, Mike Rupert was an interesting figure out there in the truth movement, as it were.
Hey, a broken clock is right twice a day.
Oh, we're not a fan of Mike Rupert, I guess.
I just don't believe in predicting the future.
Oh, well, hey, the premise of the show was about predicting the future, but these guys were actually examining existing trends and believing that the predictability was an easy thing to gather. One of the guys on there particularly was talking about the concept of, our water supply running dangerously low and how we are very quickly going to run out of consumable water. Interesting topic, something that a great many documentaries have been made about, actually, that nobody really takes the time to study. Something I was thinking about trying to do a show or two on was the Great Water Wars and what is going on regarding what is going to be consumable water on the planet in the next few years. What do you think of that?
Sorry, I was talking to my mute button.
Ah, no problem. So what do you think of that?
Sounds interesting. I just don't know a lot about it.
Oh, that's cool.
And there's a lot of background noise.
Oh, you're getting background noise from me?
No, not from you.
Oh, okay, no problem. Well, what else do you got coming up? Because we got about a half hour left, so let's talk about what you're developing for your shows coming up.
Like I said, I've got Kevin Blanche coming up. He's gonna be, sorry, I got distracted.
No problem. Kevin Blanche, yeah.
He's gonna be doing an interview with me, hopefully next Tuesday.
See, now, there is a guy that is on the same network as me, and I do appreciate his work, but yet, again, another guy I can't seem to get on my show. So.
I'll send him your way.
Kudos to you, and tell him I'd love to have a conversation with him one of these days. Will do.
I would have assumed you got him.
Yeah, no, you'd think so, but no. As per usual with me, right? I always get the odd, strange new guest, but never seem to.
Never the ones that you can get never the ones that are close enough for you to get into contact with.
Well, yeah, never the ones that it would seem to generally anybody listening to the network or whatever would think that, hey, look, it makes perfect sense that he would have this guy on or whatever.
And the guy who called in. Never mind.
Yeah, well,
Never mind.
Well, what are you going to do, right?
Yeah.
So, What else do we have to discuss, as it were? Have you been keeping track of, some of the stuff getting posted out on the social networks lately?
Everything I've seen has been about this plane.
Yeah, it seems as though we get clogged up with it, right? So what do you think they're trying to distract us from at this point? I mean,
I have no idea, but I know this is pointless.
Well, yeah, and that's easily, what the point of doing this is to give us another one of these things. But I do applaud them, though. This time we have we have at least some things found.
Give them a little bit of credit, even though last night they were saying how urgent this was, but halted the investigation due to bad weather. Aren't you supposed to go out in bad weather?
Well, I don't know. It's one of those things where I guess there's a consideration regarding the safety of living people versus the recovery of the dead.
Oh, hey, at least they're using logic for the first time.
It seems that way, doesn't it?
Yeah, which throws me off just as much.
Well, all right. Well, how about presidential politics? You're watching the positioning going on, the attempted sale of Elizabeth Warren to us, Hillary, of course, being bandied about as the surefire, person they're going to put up on the Democratic side of the ticket, and the possibility of another Bush-Clinton contest, which this time will have Jeb Bush out there. He, of course, released some of his emails, or somebody from his campaign there released the emails or whatever during from his time as governor of Florida to give the general public a flavor of what type of executive leadership they might expect from a...
Here's a message to them. Don't do it. You want to commit suicide. Evidently. They are evidently trying to commit suicide.
Well, what is, does anybody in your age group see the, or are these names new to them? Like, they don't know the background of a Hillary and they don't know the background of a Jebby Bush. I mean, is it like that, or...
Nope, right now they're all excited.
So a vague reminder that his brother was president not too long ago is sort of down the memory hole, or what?
Yeah.
And I guess the fact that his dad was president and this kind of thing doesn't strike to them as, odd at all. That's just completely normal out of the many millions of individuals that could possibly be president in this country. It would have to come down to, yet again, another Bush, right?
Right. Although, you mentioned Elizabeth. Her name always confuses me. Elizabeth Warren.
Elizabeth Warren, yeah, but she's on the other side.
I know. I'm not sure how to feel about her.
Yeah, see, this is where they present a stalking horse, somebody who seems like they have new ideas or whatever, and, either they're going to, kind of wheel Hillary out there to be a stalking horse, or she's the stalking horse for Hillary. I haven't figured that one out yet.
I don't know, but, hey, again, I'm going to get a lot of anger for this, but, hey, right now, I'm interested. And can you blame me?
You're interested in what, though, exactly?
What her role is.
Oh, Warren's role.
Is she legitimate?
Well, and that is the big question when it comes to these things, because at the end of the day, of course, we know the grand puppet in chief post is really not the post it was intended to be. And I've said it several times, and everybody hates to hear it, but the last semi-legitimate president we had was back in 1963. So good luck to you there. Right, so ever since then, we've had nothing but this shuffling of Council on Foreign Relation people and various roundtable Bilderberg. I do believe I'm back. Wow. Okay. Weird stuff happens sometimes. Okay. Let's see if I can get Dylan back in now. Let's see what happens here.
Hey, Chuck.
Dylan, there you are. Okay.
Everything locked up.
Weird.
I thought it was my connection.
Yeah, well, no, I think it was mine, actually. Alright. Where were we? We were talking about the 2016 elections and all that kind of good stuff, of course. Man, oh man.
But I am interested in Elizabeth Warren's role.
Well, right, we're trying to figure out exactly what it is that she's meant to do here versus, what's actually going on. Let me see something here.
I guess it'll be decided if Hillary wins, then we'll know Warren isn't the stalking horse.
No, it'll be, and sorry about that, guys. Yeah, the audio did drop there. I just kind of lost my connection completely and lost everything, so sorry.
It happens.
Yeah, it does. Well, let's try and make sure it doesn't happen again. Anyway, back to that. I mean, has there been discussion about that in your peer group? I mean, the presidential election, the possibilities. I mean, what are the young people, what are you youngsters supporting out there? I mean...
one person in my class said she couldn't wait to vote for Obama again.
Did anybody explain to her that that based on, the existing situation, that she couldn't possibly vote for Obama a third time?
Well... After 4 or 5 people agreed with her, yeah, I stepped in.
Oh, okay, so you were the voice of reason there.
Yeah, scary.
Now, here's the odd question. Did any of the people that agreed with her about voting for Obama once more, did any of those people happen to think that he was on board for the Great Genocide, or...
Oddly enough, all of them.
So, by extension... Wait a minute. By extension, what you're telling me is that individuals in your class agree that it would be a good idea to bring Obama back, even though he is definitely in favor of a genocide.
Okay, to be fair, the first one happened at the beginning of the year, which was them saying Obama for a third term, and then last month they said he was part of the genocide. So I got nothing. My hope is that they changed their mind.
Well,
my hope is that they changed their mind, but I don't know if... Frankly, I don't know if they were smart enough to change their mind.
Wow. And meanwhile, let's just make this a little more ironic. Aren't some of the people that were stating that Obama was on board with it, supposed to also be black as well? Weren't they black guys, black students?
Black girls, yeah.
Black girls. Okay, I'm sorry, I got the sex wrong. But,
mostly. So
the black girls that do believe that Obama is in the way of on board with the agenda of the greater genocide
of
black people, wish to vote for him.
Look.
No, I'm just asking because I'm thinking to myself, I must be misunderstanding you.
No, you're not. That's the sad part.
And people wonder why I say, that your generation scares me a little bit.
Hey, it scares me as much as it scares you, my friend.
Are you sure?
Yes.
So
I've got to live with this.
But you can't see the leap of logic there, can you? I mean, do you see how this sort of makes sense, or no?
No, I don't see how this makes sense. I see the leap in logic, or the illogic. I don't understand their line of thinking, but I'm glad I don't.
And just to clarify to the Skype question, no, Dylan Wade is not related to C.W. Wade. Thank you. Okay.
For the second time.
Second time. Yeah, well, because that was a harsh reaction I kind of got there for saying that, that Sandy Hook might have happened. All right, anyway.
I want to get my individual hate.
Well,
do not hate me because you think I'm related to him.
Well, right. Hate Dylan for being Dylan.
Yeah, come on.
That's the best policy here.
Do me that at least.
Exactly. Well, a friend of mine used to say that he loved his enemies because he made them. So you got to appreciate that. So
I like that a lot. I like that policy.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm sorry to bring you the bad news. I'm always the bearer of bad news. But
no!
You keep asking.
What now? Oh, you mean regarding the logical fallacy there of wishing to support the... See, but that goes to prove one very strange, undeniable thing, which is that among people that are not alert, let's just say...
That's a very kind way to say it, Chuck.
Right. Among people that are not alert, there was a celebration that took place... among people that that believed that they shared a kinship with Obama via, simply by virtue of their race.
Yes.
And this we saw in the streets in 2008. Okay, I don't know if you saw it.
Look, I didn't, but look, I'll play devil's advocate here.
Okay.
It's natural to identify with somebody that you feel like you know. I don't get it, but I'm trying to play devil's advocate.
Well, look, man, I mean, Rudy Giuliani was a presidential candidate at one point.
Oh, man.
And the guy...
was scary.
Well, yeah, but you knew that wasn't going to happen. As I've said several times, no Italian will be elected. I mean, you'll sooner see a transgendered Hispanic elected to office than you will see an Italian elected to office, because the guarantee is that they'll believe that whoever it is, no matter where they came from or what their background was, that they were mobbed up in some way. So there is no way that that's ever going to get by the public, as it were.
That is amazing, Chuck.
But no, I really do believe that.
I know, that's the best part.
And the thing is, with Giuliani being a potential candidate back a few years ago, I immediately said no way. But I don't identify with the guy because my name ends in a vowel.
Yeah, but that's because you're alert. That's basically.
Yeah, but somewhat, right?
More so than most.
Well, there you go. Thank you. I appreciate that very much. But I didn't identify with Giuliani, and I had lived in the city while he was mayor and everything else. I mean, the guy...
but you also knew he was psychotic.
Well, woofa, and on the one hand... And I'll say this about him. On the one hand, I felt as though he was a whole lot more hands-on and actually, down on the street with people, actually observing things from a first-hand perspective. The guy was known to, simply drive around to different areas of the city and observe, which gave him a whole lot more credibility, from a mayoral standpoint in New York City than a lot of his predecessors. Okay,
that doesn't mean much. I mean, he wasn't going to get it, like you said.
Well, right. And, but the thing is, there's no way that an attack... But even if you take that sort of positive for Giuliani, I also recall the harsh mechanisms by which the streets were cleaned up and all that kind of stuff. So... so I could not support him and did not care that, like I said before, he happened to have a vowel at the end of his name, which meant that at some point or other I could say that he shared in my heritage in one way or another, right?
Right. Well, you just shattered my devil's advocate argument.
Oh, see, but there you go.
I was playing devil's advocate for a lapse in logic.
Well, yeah, I see. It's all right. But all I'm saying is that, the unprecedented sort of celebration that was noticeable on the streets in different areas. I mean, I'm taking a bus and watching the celebration of individuals who thought that now, someone like them was actually going to be a representative for them in the greater political game out there. I was shaking my head, because I'm going, you guys just don't get it, that this guy is just another one of these, prepackaged fools who is meant to really actually keep people like yourself more silent than ever. Because, how dare you stand up to the first black president, right?
Dude, I wish you were wrong, but I can't argue with anything you said.
Yeah, well,
But I do wish you were wrong.
Yeah, me too. Me too. And of course, being the absolute fact that he had a great hand with the Central Intelligence Agency, being that he had a murky past at best, I mean, it made him a great candidate to be, placed up there as the figurehead, as it were. So, what can you do, right?
Mm-hmm. Essentially.
All right. Well, looking forward to the new year, though. I mean, my. What do you think the first topic of debate is going to be in those classrooms there that I shudder to imagine? But, I mean, do you have a prediction for that?
I don't want to.
Oh, okay.
I don't have any ideas, but I shudder at the thought.
Okay, cool. Well, how about this? Got any other predictions for 2015 worldwide? Anything that you want to prognosticate about at this point?
I think we'll be at war with Syria by June.
At war with Syria by June. Well,
Are we
not already sort of engaged in this, or do you think it'll be like declared at that point, like it'll become, one of those facts that we are currently embattled in Syria?
I think it'll be one of those we have ground troops.
So the boots on the ground that we were promised wouldn't be there will actually get there, and that'll be that, huh?
Oh, yeah, we knew it would happen.
Well, of course. I mean, but how far you think they're going to continue to play the ISIS crisis? I mean, what do you think of that?
I think they're going to play it. I think they're going to play it as much as they did last time, honestly, with Al-Qaeda.
Well, right. Because after all, when you prop up a boogeyman, you have to give him legs, and that's what they did last time.
And you have to give him arms.
Yeah, that too.
Metaphorically and literally.
I was just going to say that. Very good. And of course, we had the accidental drops of supplies to these guys. Accidental. Yeah.
Isn't it scary that we're getting on the same page exactly at the same time?
Well, it's weird because you and I haven't really talked much lately, and yet somehow or other you're coming to the same conclusions I am, which I don't know. I don't know if I should be afraid or happy, but
yeah, I'm a little confused on whether I should be as well, Chuck.
Yeah, well, what do you think about? Well, all right. Has any of the financial situation come up among your peers? I mean, are you guys talking anything about the dollar, the fact that, even though the gas prices are falling, it's not really changing much in the economy? Although they've told us we do have a newly recovered economy, and the Fed is threatening to actually, re-interject itself into the, the game as far as it goes, regarding interest rates.
Because that's a great idea.
Yeah, well, you have to slow down this ever-growing economy, right?
Plan the game.
Oh, yeah, but how much longer is the casino going to keep going when the chips are all fake, I wonder?
It's a good question. Do you think it'll happen this year? The
great collapse? I've got to say no. No, I don't think...
Glad we're reaching the same conclusion again.
Yeah, I've got to say that they have to maintain keeping the system propped up at least until 2016 so they can get the charade of the new president in place, to therefore begin blaming Obama for what's happening 2 days after they take office, which, of course, Obama had nothing to do with the construction of a whole lot of this stuff, although he's accelerated things greatly and been a masterful player regarding keeping the greater Bush doctrine alive.
He's doing a bit better in a lot of ways.
But of course, remember, he's our peace president, and
right,
and the man who is dropping those humanitarian bombs on everybody. So,
hooray!
Just ask the truly happy people in Pakistan right now how happy they are about
and Somalia and Yemen.
Keep going.
Keep going. And Afghanistan and Libya. And Iraq and Syria.
No, right, and I guess, after a while...
And Ukraine.
Oh, yeah, don't forget that. After a while, I guess you can achieve peace if you wipe out enough people. There's...
Maybe that's a strategy.
Listen, if there's nobody else left to fight, I'll give them this one. If there's nobody else left to fight because we've literally, destroyed and co-opted all of the opposition that's possible and plausible, then it does kind of make sense that you might achieve peace in that way, huh?
Yeah, I guess. In some twisted sense, maybe that's what he's going for.
See, you may have unlocked the secret, sir. Well, look, we're down to the last 6 minutes or so. So I want to one more time. What?
Send all the hate mail to the Truth Speaks. I've probably angered enough people. Send it all over.
Well,
I look forward to reading it.
Yeah, look, if you want to send hate mail, go right ahead. You can find Dylan on Facebook if you use that option. And if you can't find him right away, just check my friends list. You'll find him.
Gee. Now I'll get a lot of them.
Well, hey.
Hooray.
Listen, as long as you don't continuously get this crap that I keep getting, which is the damn football jerseys getting plastered on my wall, that pisses me off. That makes me more angry, actually, than the idiots who want to, push the other crap on there. I'm willing to let the idiots stand, but the football jerseys got to go, man. I mean, I don't know who put me on that list for spamming the hell out of me with buy NFL jerseys, but please, go away.
Because they certainly listen to this.
Well, God knows what they actually listen to. I mean, probably they enjoy the humming of their own dryers and things like that. And listen, if you do smoke the right chemical, I'm sure that is enjoyable. But I'm making a hypothesis here at this point.
Hey, Chuck.
Yeah.
My first show is Wednesday for the new network. Do you want to next week, the 7th? Do you want to come on?
I could be able to do that. I'm not exactly sure at the moment, but sounds like we could probably work something out. You doing a round table, or do you just want me on?
I just want you on. This hour was fun. We got to try it again once we actually have some news.
Oh, yeah, well. There's no news like old news, so sure.
Yeah, well. Hey, one thing I did want to touch on really quickly. Sony. Do you feel like getting into it?
Well, we only have 3 minutes left, but I'm sure
3?
we could. Yeah, I'm sure we could quash this in 3 minutes anyway. Talk about a really badly timed publicity stunt to try and pump up another.
It was brilliant.
Yeah, but
brilliant publicity stuff. What are you talking about?
Well, I guess it did work on the back end, didn't it? But
it made $15 million online, unheard of.
Yeah, but they're crying that they're not going to be able to recoup their losses from all the illegal downloads,
Aww.
Yeah.
Poor billion-dollar company.
Well, and that's what I say. And, of course, those earth-shaking emails that nobody gave a crap about disappeared real quick, too, didn't they?
I read a lot of them. I'll admit it, I read a lot of them.
Well, yeah, I mean, look, it is kind of funny to say that, you got to present Django Unchained to Barack Obama and all that. I guess that's kind of funny, in a weird sort of way, but...
kind of scary when you think about it, but...
Well, but other than that...
for all the people saying it's North Korea, hopefully no one in your audience, but use common sense.
Yeah, well, look, believing that the North Koreans actually orchestrated some sort of a massive attack in order to do something to this country, and their chosen target would have to be Sony Pictures, of course, the pinnacle of American society, despite having been a Japanese company and all that. That would be the place I would pick if I had to utilize my resources to create a great hacking kind of move, right?
Well, and even if you think about it, the internet connection sucks over there.
Yeah, they don't even have good internet. This is a good point. They don't even have, the more polished versions we have here and all that.
They have internet like I have, and I couldn't pull off a Sony hack.
Well,
so to say that they did it is another lapse in logic.
Not only that, but if you're telling me that Kim Jong-il would not turn around and, or Kim Jong-un or whatever that guy's name is at this point, one of the Kim Jong people, if he wouldn't turn around and say, yes, I did it, and boy, I did it because I was mad, and I have power to reach out and grab anybody who criticizes me or makes fun of me or whatever else, the fact that he didn't claim it tells you right away that, yet again, it was an inside job. So,
yeah. And Sony's own security firm came to that conclusion today.
I missed that.
Yeah, it just came out a couple hours ago. The security team that Sony hired came to the conclusion that a former employee did it. 4 guys in America, a guy in Canada, and a guy in Thailand.
Oh, that sounds a hell of a lot more plausible than this great international conspiracy.
Yes.
So, anyway, again, Dylan
Sorry,
Wade.
I wanted to quash that real quick.
No problem. Again, Dylan Wade joining me in the second hour, and the Ochelli Effect is just about done. I want to thank you for tuning in at UCY.TV radio. Always a good time on Tuesday nights, and we had Roger Landry in the first hour, and we discussed geoengineering. So appreciate everybody who decided to tune in, everybody who caught us later on downstream. Thanks a lot. If you want to hear the archives, go to ucy.tv/TOE, and you can get all the MP3s there, or check it out on YouTube. Have fun with it.
And check out Climate... I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Check out climateviewer.com. The radio network will be starting in 2 days.
climateviewer.com. And that's that. Everybody have a good night. Thanks for putting up with me once more.
At the age of 19 in 1962, she was
but I have the files. I read this stuff at the National Archives, and I read these other things. I said to myself, how can that be possible? Pistols and fondle slab of choice, and computers, internet, professional wrestlers, and not Jesse Ventura style. It doesn't matter where the information comes from as long as it's real. It's hard to get real information because seriously, they don't want you to have just read two sources whenever I